Alright, here's the multimeter I used. It can measure temperature. Harbor Freight, on sale, $17.99. And here is the infrared thermometer. This is also Harbor Freight. This is what they look like now, $25. Limitations on infrared thermometers. They do not accurately measure through glass or liquid. I took mine down to Loxa and I was getting kind of bizarre readings. I just didn't really trust them. So here, we're going to take a look. So works great for ambient surfaces. This is room temperature, 71 degrees. On the lineup, we have cold tap water, and on the other end of the spectrum, cold as possible, tons of ice, and then right in the middle is kind of like your tap water with one ice cube that can barely cool it up. That's going to be your temperatures of spring conditions, your mid 40s. That's what you want to be measuring. All right, so here's cold tap water. This is only 57 degrees. Now the infrared thermometer read 63 degrees, so maybe not as accurate, kind of a little warm on that side. And now we have the melted ice water, 46 degree temperature. That's exactly where we want to measure, those cold days out on the river. Make sure we're properly dressed for those conditions. So this is 53 degrees with the infrared thermometer. So the next one, now we have cold as possible ice water. Multimeter read 34 degrees, so perfect. That seems very accurate. But then the infrared thermometer, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So I did a control. We have room temperature water and hottest tap water. Room temperature came in at 68 degrees and 65 on the infrared thermometer. And then the hottest tap water, 113 degrees. And I think that's very accurate because it felt hotter than, let's say your hot tub, which is, 105, 108, 110. Anyway, infrared thermometer, 91 degrees, so that's obviously not very accurate again. All right, so why do we want to know the temperature of cold water? Well, it's going to help us make good decisions when gearing up for whitewater rafting, sea kayaking, or any other boating excursion where we might end up in the water. So let's take summer in the San Juan Islands. How do you dress for sea kayaking? Well, summer day, 80-degree temperatures, maybe a short sleeve t-shirt. But that water temperature in the Pacific Ocean that far north is always 50 degrees. So the rule of thumb is to know that 50-degree water is cold. So whether you're sea kayaking or rafting, if the water temperature is 50 degrees and you fall in street clothes, you have 10 minutes before your body temperature drops 3 degrees and you become the definition of hypothermia. The Grand Canyon is another waterway that has an unforeseen exposure to cold water. The water flowing through the Grand Canyon gets pulled from the base of Lake Powell and the Glen Canyon Dam, which has a temperature of 46 and only warms a few degrees over the course of 188 miles. So when a raft flips on the Grand Canyon, it becomes a top priority to get people out of the water within that 5-minute window of losing dexterity. Flush drownings are notorious in the Grand Canyon just because it's cold. If the water was warmer, you'd see way fewer flush drownings. And one easy way to make the water warmer is just dress smarter. So I've always wanted to measure the temperature of the rivers, but I've never really had a good thermometer or gauge to do so. When I was on the Grand Canyon, it definitely felt like it was in the 40s. It was very chilly. But here is the statistics from Lee's Ferry. Now maybe they're just pulling this right off the surface. I don't know, but it just seems a little higher. But anyway, average temperature for the Colorado, 50 degrees, and that's on Google too. And even in the summertime, getting as high as 55, but never really above 60. So it's always a cold water river. But as you can see, this last summer, man, maybe because Lake Mead is so low, just a huge spike in temperature for summer flows. So as a boater, what gear should you own? And when it comes to rafting, the dry suit is king. But I just want to show you that you can get dry suits for around $300. Now these are not specific for rafting, but they are for, ocean boating, your sailing, your yachting. So because that's such a more popular thing than rafting, companies are selling these things for only $300. And, they're good enough for rafting. It's the same dry suit. Bring this topic up because for most rafters, like raft guides, you might be your third, fourth season in before you ever bought a dry suit. And I fall into the category that I had subpar gear up to that point that I bought a dry suit. And then another point I want to hammer home is don't underestimate the wetsuit. And there's plenty of wetsuits out there because wakeboarding's a sport. So all these lake sports are way more popular than river sports, and you can find these lake wetsuits. You know, here's one on eBay for $15, and there is no difference between these and the $300, $400 surfing wetsuits. And there is one trap that rafters fall into. It's thinking they just need splash gear, or worse, the dry pants and dry top. So for the first 3 years of commercial guiding, I fell into the trap of the dry pants and dry top is my main source of gear for cold water immersion. And they leak pretty bad, so they don't work. Alright, and let's take a moment to talk about the Farmer John. NRS, $120. So that should be almost the first thing that you buy as a raft guide. You can use this in any spring conditions, and like I said, this can be your go-to for 45-degree water. 2 fleeces over the top, splash jacket, you know, all your neoprene, hands and feet, stuff like that. But basically, this gives you a core of warmth that you use. Like raft companies across America will be using this in 45-degree temperatures. So this is the gold standard. Even though the clients wear it, they wear it for a reason. Alright, here's some temperature data for the Lochsa. It's a real cold river. It'll stay in the 40s all the way through mid-June. Takes towards the end of June to actually pop up into the 50s. So this graph shows the first day above 50 degrees is May 25th. And if we compare that to, let's say, the Blackfoot River, which is longer running, still snow melt, but has got plenty of time to warm up due to sun, sunny temperatures and open valleys. First day it hits 50 is April 25th, so a whole month ahead of the Lochsa. Alright, for most people, this graph is going to be very typical of temperatures you'll find in spring and summer rafting conditions. And it brings home the message of why you want to take the temperature of a river, because you see that in May the temperature might be in the mid 40s, or in late May it could be in the mid 50s. Those two temperatures between 45 and 55 are going to be two completely different conditions that you'll dress for. Alright, thanks for watching. That was my 2 cents on measuring temperature and what I wanted to talk about of dressing for river conditions. Kind of a topic that's near and dear to me. You know, the first day of raft guide training, that's the knowledge I really want to get across, because that'll set you up for success for, your entire career. It's something you always have to be thinking about and getting attuned to and accustomed to and getting dialed in. So, hey, thanks again. Alright.